can imagine the hundreds of people crowding in to the new room to listen or to debate as part of a meeting house. The reason why the headstone is here is on that gravestone, a headstone. Charles was son was a headstone children, and was often the Wales of the 18th century. Many died in childbirth or in infancy. 5 of their children died, and one, Sarah, who lived in the city and died at the age of 68. So we have here a headstone because this for the Wesleys would have been their parish. You'll notice that the names may be familiar if you know your Wesley family tree. So the first child they named John, after uncle no doubt, Martha, Maria, Susanna after grandmother, Selina the Countess of Huntingdon, one of the early supporters of the Methodist movement, and John James. You'll also see, of course, that Charles was married to Sarah, but we often refer to her by her pet name, her nickname, Sally, to try and avoid confusion, because otherwise all these names can get quite difficult to remember which generation you're talking about. So the headstone is here just to reflect that Wesley connection with St James Priory. The children would have been buried closer to the church. This is now St James Park. It's no longer part of the church itself, but an important part of the Methodist and the Wesley story here in Bristol. Okay,
David,
we'll head over to the
would
house.
you comment on where Charles is buried there in London and why that?
Yes, well, Charles and Sally and the family moved back to London in 1771. The reason for doing that was that Charles was anxious that his 2 sons got access to the best musical tuition which was available in London. Charles then spent part of his time in Bristol, part of his time in London, switching between the 2 cities. But Charles died in 1788, and in fact the last letter that he wrote was to the minister at Marylebone Church in North London to be reassured that he would be buried in consecrated Anglican cemetery in London. So you can go and visit that today, in contrast to John, who's buried in the back of the City Road Chapel, which is unconsecrated ground. Their mother, Susanna, is buried in Bunhill Field Cemetery, which is immediately opposite City Road. And their father, the Reverend Samuel Wesley, is buried in the churchyard at Epworth, where he was the rector, of course, for many years and where John and Charles were born.